Good morning. This presentation discusses the benefits of stormwater retention. My name is Debbie, and I'm a volunteer with the Mount Lebanon Green Team. Any questions you have can be directed to libogreen2020@gmail.com. First, I'd like you to think about the water that we have here. Mount Lebanon is located in the lower Chartiers Creek watershed. Rain that falls here will flow to the Chartiers Creek, then to the Ohio River, and eventually down to the Mississippi River and the Gulf of Mexico. So things that we put in the water here may travel a long way. Before we discuss stormwater retention, we have to first understand stormwater runoff. Stormwater runoff is the water that runs off surfaces like roofs, streets, and if it's raining faster than your yard can absorb it, then your yard as well. Water always flows downhill, so low-lying areas will always be most vulnerable. This is especially true in urban areas, as there is more impermeable surfaces that shed water quickly. 70% of all pollution in surface water and groundwater occurs from stormwater running off of asphalt, rooftops, farms, etc. Water carries just about everything. Some things are easily visible, like litter. Other things are not, such as oil and salt that get picked up on road surfaces, or fertilizers and pesticides we put on our lawns. This affects habitats, our local aquifers, and of course, our drinking water. We get the majority of our drinking water from surface water in Pennsylvania, from rivers, streams, and reservoirs. Stormwater runoff carries sediment into streams, reducing the oxygen content in the water, killing aquatic life and clogging them. In addition, heavy rain events cause damage to stream banks, eroding them quickly and making them less stable. For example, in Bird Park in 2020, steps were taken to stabilize the banks of the stream going through the park due to damage from heavy rain events. Pittsburgh, as with other regions with old infrastructure, has the additional problem of stormwater getting into sanitary sewer system, which is that which carries our water from our toilets and other plumbing. If you are near the three rivers and see a yellow or orange CSO flag flying, it indicates that there is combined sewer overflow and raw sewage is making it into our rivers. It may only take 1/10 of an inch of rain to have this happen. As we are experiencing more frequent heavy rain events, reducing stormwater runoff becomes a goal to addressing many of these problems. So, as you may have already guessed, benefits of stormwater retention are the opposite of stormwater runoff, in that it prevents overtaxing of existing storm and sanitary sewer systems, remember the CSO flags, reduces flooding in downstream communities, reduces flooding of local low-lying areas and basements, reduces costly repairs to existing infrastructure, and recharges our local aquifers. Just as a side note, PA aquifers are rechargeable. This means that water percolating through the soil to the level of the aquifer replaces water lost or drained from the aquifer. Many aquifers in the US are not rechargeable, including those in farming areas of the Midwest and areas of the Southwest. Mount Lebanon residents can save money in Mount Lebanon by employing specific stormwater retention strategies, such as installing a rain barrel. Information on stormwater credits can be found on the mountlebanon.org website. These will be reflected as credits to your stormwater fee assessment. A link to the website is on the last page of this presentation. So, what are our options? The ways listed here are considered non-structural best management practices, or BMPs, and are solutions that you may be able to employ on your own property. The picture here is of the restroom at Main Park, where there is a rain barrel capturing rainwater from the roof and depositing it in an adjacent rain garden. So BMPs are a combination of design and planning techniques that preserve natural systems and hydraulic functions on a site. Non-structural BMPs encourage the treatment, infiltration, evaporation, and transpiration of precipitation close to where it falls, while helping to maintain a more natural and functional landscape, as defined by stormwaterpa.org. We will look briefly at each of these. Let's start with rain barrels. Each 1 inch of rain per 1,000 square feet of roof area sheds over 600 gallons of water. The idea of the rain barrel is to capture a portion of this and save it for use in our yard. This provides savings in many ways. Not only do you reduce your municipal water consumption and therefore your water and sewage bills, But by using rainwater for yard purposes, you are reducing the amount of treated water that you pull from the water company. And the water company uses much energy to clean water, so there's an energy savings there. Plants love rainwater, soft water, without chemical additives or minerals present in drinking water. pH level is slightly acidic to almost neutral. However, remember, your rain barrel will not contain potable water. We do not recommend that you drink from it. Think about where you might install a rain barrel next to a downspout on your property and what kind of a base you want it to sit on, as it will be quite heavy when full. Set the barrel on top of attractive pavers or blocks to facilitate using the faucet at the bottom to fill watering cans or as a hose connection to water your plants directly. Raising the barrel will also help with water flow. Use the faucet on the top as an overflow. Connect a hose to it and direct it away from your foundation to a vegetated swell, a rain garden, or another rain barrel. Maintenance required with a rain barrel entails checking and cleaning the screen and filter basket to remove leaves and debris, disconnecting and draining your rain barrel for the winter so it doesn't crack from frozen water, and flush out the first rain of spring or wash with Castile soap, lemon juice, or vinegar when you begin to use it again. Rain gardens. Rain gardens create additional backyard habitat for native plants, insects, and animal species, while at the same time capturing and filtering runoff. Rain gardens are designed as a depression that collects rainfall and runoff, giving it time to percolate into the ground instead of overwhelming our waterways. Planting native plants in this depression reduces chance of erosion and helps with water absorption. You can connect the overflow from a rain barrel to your rain garden or run a pipe from a downspout. So look at your property. Is there soil erosion on your property? Are there spots that stay damp or wet right after a rainfall? Does water run down your slope to flood your patio, your basement, or the street? Would you like to use a rain garden as an overflow for your rain barrel or barrels? If you answer yes to any of the questions above, then consider a rain garden. Locate your garden in a spot which will provide it with the most rainfall possible, probably based on slope where water visibly runs off. Perform a percolation test to make sure water will soak in that location, and make sure your location is at least 10 feet away from your foundation. Once installed, maintenance is similar to any garden. Mulch is required to block weed growth, add compost to retain moisture, and add nutrients. You can register your rain garden with the Three Rivers Rain Garden Alliance, and they will track the amount of your rainwater collection. Plant Lebanon High School, as part of the renovations, installed a rain garden between the main school and the sports complex to handle runoff, as you can see in the picture on the screen. Vegetated swells are broad, shallow channels designed to slow runoff, promote infiltration, and filter pollutants and sediments in the process of conveying runoff. Swells create additional backyard habitat as well for native plants, insects, and animal species. So you'll find that most information about rain gardens also applies to vegetated swells. Candidate spots for vegetated swells are very similar as for rain gardens, with the exception that a swell can actually be located in a steeper area than a rain garden. Again, locate your vegetated swell in a spot which will provide it with the most rainfall possible, possibly based on the slope where water collects already. And make sure, as with the rain garden, that you're 10 feet at a minimum from your foundation. You can connect overflows from your rain barrel, divert downspouts from your home directly to your vegetated swell, or run swells from steeply sloped areas of your yard to a site where you have your rain garden. Be wary of locating your swell or rain gardens under an existing tree. Digging as deep as is required may damage existing roots. In addition, excess moisture may damage particular tree species. There are varieties of native trees which can tolerate spells of increased moisture that you can choose to plant in a swell or a rain garden. But not all trees can handle the additional moisture, so you want to be careful when you're placing these features in your yard. For both rain gardens and swells, choose native perennials that can tolerate both wet and dry conditions. Plants that thrive in very wet conditions should be placed in the lowest part of the garden, whereas plants that thrive in drier soil should work up the edges of the garden or the swell. Using native plants require less maintenance and does not require fertilizers or chemicals. They also provide appropriate habitat for native insects and animals. It is best to plant in either the spring or the fall as rain is more consistent and there is less temperature stress for new plantings. Do your research and determine the best time of year to plant the species you choose. Using sedges, rushes, and grasses helps to eliminate weeds, encourages other plants to stay within bounds, adds diversity, and adds a thick root system that balances the vegetated swell or rain garden and prevents erosion. For maintenance, apply 2 to 3 inch layer of shredded hardwood mulch in the early stages while the plants are establishing. If you've planned properly, the plants may cover most of the soil after it is established and will not require future mulching. Do not use large-sized mulch chips. They will float and wash away. Maintenance is similar to any garden. Mulch is required to block weed growth and add compost to retain moisture and add nutrients. Another option is to install pervious paving. Pervious paving will help keep excess stormwater on site with less runoff. You can have pervious concrete, asphalt, or glass, and can be installed for use as driveways, parking areas, or walkways. Any pervious paving requires experienced installers who must prepare the sub-base correctly and determine if the slope is a factor in selecting materials. The advantage to using pervious paving is that you end up using less snowmelt chemicals, as ice does not form due to percolation of snowmelt before refreezing. And there's virtually no runoff depending on the slope. It also has a longer life due to less heaving to freeze-thaw cycles. And that has been validated by research by the University of New Hampshire Stormwater Center. So there is a slightly higher cost to install it, which may be outweighed by all of the above. There are a few disadvantages. You need to vacuum 2 to 3 times a year to remove sediment and retain pervious quality. And you should not use it in areas where there is a likelihood of heavy pollution, like industrial areas, auto body shops, gas stations, areas where chemicals are stored, because the greater degree of contamination may not be alleviated by percolation through the soil. And you should not use in areas of greater than 50% slope, as erosion of the subbase may occur. Another option is to install pervious paving in the form of impervious building materials such as stone, concrete, or brick that can be laid with space in between them to allow for pervious areas of gravel, sand, or vegetation. Pervious surface was installed at Mount Lebanon High School to reduce runoff between the school buildings next to the rain garden. Now, it's always good to increase native plantings and to replace turf grass. Native trees, plants, and ground cover are much better at absorbing water and more drought tolerant than turf lawn as their roots go much deeper. In addition, native plants and trees require less fertilization than turf, resulting in less pollution runoff. Take a tree, for example. A fun tool to use is the tree benefit calculator you can find at treebenefits.com. This tool will calculate the overall benefits of planting a specific kind of tree in your yard based on stormwater retention, property value, energy savings, air quality improvements, and sequestration of carbon dioxide. Where stormwater runoff is concerned, remember that urban stormwater runoff washes chemicals, oil, gasoline, salts, etc., and litter from surfaces such as roadways and parking lots into streams, wetlands, rivers, and oceans. The more impervious the surface, the more quickly pollutants are washed into our community waterways. Drinking water, aquatic life, and the health of our entire ecosystem can be adversely affected by this process. Trees act as mini reservoirs, controlling runoff at the source. Trees reduce runoff by intercepting and holding rain on leaves, branches, and bark, increasing infiltration and storage of rainwater through the tree's root system, reducing soil erosion by slowing rainfall before it strikes the soil. Consider planting a tree in your yard. As with other plants, do your research and place in a location in the yard where it will thrive based in part on soil moisture and availability of sunlight. This very helpful homeowner's guide to stormwater is available to you on Mount Lebanon's website. This guide will help you create your own stormwater management plan and select simple stormwater solutions to be implemented on your property. It walks you through creating a stormwater management plan map. Especially in this time of more severe rain events, now is a good time to assess your property for ways of slowing and reducing stormwater runoff. Do your part to prevent overtaxing of existing storm and sanitary sewer systems, reduce flooding in downstream communities, reduce flooding of local low-lying areas and basements, reduce costly repairs to existing infrastructure, and recharge our local aquifers. Thank you for listening, and remember that Earth Day is every day.